Hi, everybody. So joining me today, we have a few questions for our Meet the Speaker profile. We are so excited that Ann Hoskins is here and she's going to be presenting at the Virtual Power Conference to Advance Women in Energy next month. So we're hoping to get to know Ann a little bit better than just reading her bio. And we're excited that we're featuring her at the upcoming conference. So welcome, Ann.
Hey, nice to be here, Ashley. Good to get to know the conference and reach out to people a little bit ahead of time.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to start off by asking you to sort of introduce yourself. Tell us your name, title, and company.
Hi, everyone. So I'm Ann Hoskins. I'm the Chief Policy Officer at Sunrun. And Sunrun is the largest residential solar and battery company in the United States. We operate in 22 states. And I oversee our policy team. And our policy team is the group of folks who work with regulators, work with legislators, work on the federal level as well as the state level. And I also oversee our communications team, which gets the story out to our customers, our investors, again, our public partners as well. And it's a very dynamic team that is very mission driven and a lot of fun to work with.
That's awesome. Sounds like you wear a lot of hats in that one position.
Well, yeah, we do. I mean, I think everyone on my team has to be pretty agile and versatile. You know, we have about 20 folks on this team, but as I mentioned, we cover 22 states and legislatures and regulators and work with the press. So everybody is that's one of the key traits I think of being in policy and advocacy is just being able to be flexible, pick up the ever-changing technology changes that we're dealing with now in clean energy, and being able to communicate that. So having this connection between communication and advocacy is always something that Sunrun has had as a core element of our strategy.
Awesome. Well, thank you for that. Tell me a little bit about your family, your hometown, and where you live.
So I am a mom. I'm married and I have 4 kids who are now all grown up. The youngest is 23 and the oldest is about to turn 33. So I'm in a different phase now. I guess I would say I'm an empty nester, except with COVID, I've been actually very happy to have my youngest home for some part of the time. And I grew up in upstate New York in a small industrial town, and spent most of my career until 4 years ago on the East Coast, sort of along the Mid-Atlantic and in college and grad school and law school. So I was very much an East Coaster. 4 years ago, when I was offered this job at Sunrun, I moved west. My husband grew up in California, so this was something he had been hoping to do for a long time. And we live in the Bay Area in Oakland. I work in San Francisco when we're working in an office. During COVID, I've been living and working in Oakland.
Very cool. And where in the Mid-Atlantic were you spending most of your time? Just curious.
So, when I first finished, I grew up in upstate New York. I went to Cornell in upstate New York. And so I spent most of my, certainly my childhood and early years there. I did go back and forth between New Jersey and Maryland, DC a couple of times through different jobs that I had. And I went to Harvard Law School. So I spent 3 years up in New England. But, most of my career was, initially I started in the governor's office in New Jersey. Then I went to a nonprofit in DC. I ended up back in DC as a regulatory lawyer for Verizon for a number of years. And then went back up to New Jersey with one of my former colleagues from the governor's office to join PSEG, where I worked in New Jersey for, I think, 6 to 7 years. Then back to Maryland, where I was appointed to serve on the Maryland Public Service Commission. I had been fairly engaged in local politics when I lived in Maryland earlier in my career. And so it was a great opportunity, for me to be appointed by then Governor O'Malley to serve on the Public Service Commission. But on these commissions, terms end. And when my term ended and I was trying to figure out what to do next, rather than move back to New Jersey, back and forth, I had the opportunity to come out here And it was very exciting, and I think it was, one of the things that I'll talk about, on my talk here next month is how I've embraced these opportunities for change, which, can be daunting at the time. During many of those moves, I had my 4 kids. And so, I see it now with younger folks on my team who are just starting their families or, balancing these really important obligations and commitments. And that was something that was, very critical to me during those parts of my career. And moving amongst that, can be quite a challenge.
I totally get that as one who's moved around a bit myself.
Yep.
Super. Well, thank you. And what do you do when you're not working?
Well, I do work a lot. I'd say I probably could do better on that front. But when I'm not working, I may try to spend time, communicating with, interacting with my adult kids. They're a really important part of my life still. So I've always tried to make that a priority. Now that we're empty nesters, my husband and I like to, hike on the weekends and, engage with friends, when we can. I don't have a lot of really well-developed hobbies. That's probably something that got lost a little bit along the way, as I was doing all the things I was doing in my career and with my family. So that's one of the things I hope to have the discipline to carve out a little bit more when we get life back to normal.
Got it. Great. Hey, what big changes do you see for your company and or the industry in the next 12 months?
Oh, it's going to be an amazing 12 months, I think. I'm really excited about 2021. I think, for Sunrun, we've just gone through a big change. We just merged with the second largest solar company, Vivint Solar, and we're finishing up that integration. That's given us more customers, more sales capacity, and just so much opportunity for us to go out and continue to bring solar to more people, across the country. We're very excited about President-elect Biden and Vice President-elect Harris, and just the commitment they've put out there to support climate change solutions. We feel strongly that distributed solar and batteries are just a key driver for that. We have so much untapped potential on people's homes, on schools, on warehouse roofs, and just the technology is getting better. It's getting cheaper. Batteries, new batteries are being developed. And so we have this capacity now for people to really be a part of the solution here to develop clean energy that's more reliable, that's closer to where it's being used. This has really hit home for me, living in California over the past few years as we've had these terrible wildfires. And, it's really shown the vulnerability of our traditional electric system, which, was designed and much of it built, over 100 years ago. And so, we see the vulnerabilities of it, but we know that people want to be part of the solution. They now have the capacity to do it. So I think Sunrun is going to lead on this. And, I'm excited to be able to have opportunities like this to share that message. I encourage people to learn more about it. I think the technology is here. And the issue is we need people thinking creatively about how do we change the way that we plan our electric system? How do we continue to encourage customers to invest in it and then have the right incentives so that they'll share that power, at the right time? So really excited, and I think it's going to be a really big year in 2021.
Awesome. Who are a couple of your role models and why?
So I've been really fortunate to have worked with some amazing people. I think that, my late father was always a huge influence on me. Unfortunately, he died when I was much younger, but is someone I think about all the time, and just in terms of the ethics that he had and his commitment to his family, which are both, I think, really held strongly, kept with me very strongly. My current CEO, Lynn Jurich, is a really amazing woman leader. She's really was a key reason I decided to come to Sunrun. When I was, offered this job, I had come out and met with her. She started this company with Ed Fenster about 12 or 13 years ago as she was finishing business school. And, she's just, proven herself to be an incredible leader who really focuses on conscious leadership, on, trying to really, she pushes, the company to do amazing things, but I think she does it in a very human-centered way. So I'm learning a lot from Lynn and, really appreciate the opportunity to work with her. And then I think back sometimes to one of my first bosses, I guess, when I was just finishing grad school at Princeton. I went to work in the governor's office in New Jersey, and there was a new chief of policy for the governor's office in New Jersey named Brenda Davis. And she was a lot like Lynn is now. And she's, this was like years and years ago. But the same kind of, I'd say, kind of courageous leadership, but also very human-centered. At the time, I think she was probably in her mid-30s. I was in my early 20s. So I thought she was really, really old. Not really old, but, like much further along in her life. She was, married, had 2 little kids, and managed all of that and did it in a way that was, still pushing the envelope on really critical policy issues. And I think I learned a lot. When I look back now, that was a very formative time for me, as I had finished grad school and was really starting my career, to have a strong yet very human-centered leader like that in a political setting. As I think back now, I think she had a huge impact on me.
That's awesome. That's great. What's your biggest goal for 2021?
I think for 2021, first, I just really think it's critical that we get beyond the COVID situation. It is so sad to see hundreds of thousands of people having died. I think about the inequities that are becoming more and more stark every day. People who have lost their jobs, people who have been ill. Some people have become much more wealthy. It's really shows just so many challenges in our society. So, while I'm, as I said earlier, very excited about the opportunities for clean energy, the opportunities for Sunrun, I think as a society, we have so much work to do to make sure that everybody gets brought along in our economy and is taken care of. And, it's really hit me here this week as we think about going into the holidays, just how challenging a time it's going to be for people who have lost people to COVID, who have lost their jobs. And, as leaders, I think we have to make sure we can step back and think about our role in society and not just our role in our families or in our jobs, which, as I said, those have both been very high priorities in my life. But I think that to the extent I can, I'd like to find a way to, make a bigger contribution to our society and to help helping people who have really been left behind in this, really challenging year.
And I think California, has had almost like a magnifier or exponent, or I'm not sure exactly what to say, but between, kind of the early hit of COVID happened earlier in California than it, and then it sort of worked its way across the country. And then the wildfire situation, and then the issue with the ICU beds are at max capacity right now. So I think that there's a certain urgency for sure in all of the things that you mentioned in California. And as always, especially in energy, we look to you guys as the leaders. What do you wish people understood that would make your role easier in your company?
Well, I think that, one of the challenges with the policy role in a company is that, if you take a company like Sunrun, where I get a lot of support, Sunrun supports policy more than any other competitive energy company in the country. And that's one of the big challenges. We need more competitive solar energy efficiency, other companies to invest in public policy because, we need supportive policies to continue to grow and to make sure access is available. And it's been, I think the return to Sunrun has been very significant in the fact that we've been at the table, we've been able to help craft policies that have helped, lead the growth of solar. But, one of the reasons that other companies don't invest, I think, is that they don't understand that connection. Many of I'd say the tech companies are, support, really a lot of financial, people come from MBAs and finance, that this isn't their expertise. And I think there's sort of a little bit of a lack of understanding of what it takes to do this work. It's a quote softer type work, right? But it's really hard, and it really depends, really requires specific skills. So I think there's a little bit of lack of understanding of what's involved. It's not like you can just go write a check, or you can just go, go golf with somebody. And there's a lot of, I think, false perceptions about what it takes to get policy change done. But yeah, like I said, I've been really fortunate that, Sunrun invested in me, and they've invested in our team. And so, one of the goals that I spend a good amount of time trying to encourage other companies to join in, to join SEIA. I'm the vice chair of the Solar Association, Industry Association, to support other organizations that are critical for us. So part of it is we have to learn to advocate within our companies as well as externally for the role and the benefit, that we can provide. And I'd say on the flip side, sometimes I work with my team, and younger folks who are in policy, and policy folks also have to do the work to understand the business, right? Because we're not working in a government agency. Many of us come out of government or had that experience, but you have to understand the business objectives. You have to be able to speak to the business in terms of the risks that they're facing, in terms of the value that you might be able to bring. So I think it's a two-way street, but it's one that, I'm really fortunate that I think Sunrun, fully embraces.
Awesome. Thank you. Two more questions.
Great.
What are you grateful for?
Well, right now, I'm just really grateful that I'm healthy, that my family's healthy. I have, a fabulous, family and friends who, even though I don't get to see, I haven't seen a few of my daughters for over a year. So, it's tough because we live all over the country. But I do think that, we're really fortunate I'm fortunate that I'm able to work remotely. I'm thankful for all of those people that are, delivering the food to me so I don't have to go to the grocery store, the doctors and the nurses. So I really do feel a great, sense of gratitude right now for what people have been doing to try to, help our country get through this crisis. And I'm also just really grateful for the opportunities I've had in my career. I have had a really exciting career, and I get to work on things that I think are going to make a difference, which has always been really important to me. And I've been able to do it, in a very dynamic industry now. So, just feel very fortunate.
That's terrific. So what are you most excited about right now?
Right now, I'm really excited that Christmas is in 3 days. I don't know why, because, we're not really doing anything particularly exciting for Christmas. It's been a really busy year. Also really exciting that yesterday, Congress passed the COVID Relief Act, which included the investment tax credit extension. My team was really involved in that. I'd say, played a very big role in it, and I'm really proud of them for that. Sunrun's been pushing for this for a couple of years. And so that was just a really great way, to end the year knowing that, we're going to have more certainty for this important incentive as we go into 2021, which again, I think is a huge year to make advances on solar and batteries. So having that ITC, continued at 26% is a very big deal for Sunrun, for the whole industry. And so, yeah, I'm super excited. It's been, we actually just got another great decision out of the CPUC just before this call. So, got 2 in 1 week is pretty big deal. So we're feeling good here at Sunrun and in our policy team. I think that, my hope for, getting to speak with women here next month is just, to encourage more women to, continue to come into this industry. You look around and you see a lot of the leaders in the clean energy world. they're women. We've got some, look at some of the people who are just appointed to the Biden administration to lead DOE, to lead CEQ, to lead, the climate group. My colleague, Abby Hopper, leading the Solar Association. One of my former, commissioners in Maryland, leading the Storage Association. So it's just really a great time for women leaders to step up because, many women, I think, particularly I'll close with this, particularly, women who have kids who they've raised. I hear this a lot, just concern about the future of your kids, the future of your family. Participating in clean energy and helping to really take on these climate change challenges, can just give you such fulfillment, both professionally and in meeting some of the personal concerns and objectives that you have. And that's what I'm feeling, both optimistic, but also really thankful, to have the opportunity. So just encourage, women leaders to, join us in this effort, to pursue clean energy, in the year to come.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me today and let us know a little bit more about what makes Ann tick. And we are so excited to see you next month at the conference and wish you a wonderful holiday and new year. And we'll see you soon.
Yeah, we'll see you soon. All the best.
Thanks again. Take care.
Thanks.